In today's video, we're gonna make a meta tier list on the best agents to use to climb in rank fastest in Valorant. Chamber got nerfed in this patch, and we're gonna take a look at how that has shaken up the meta and how that has affected him as a pick. So let's begin. So let's go ahead and start off the list on what's first here, and it looks like it's Breach. I'm gonna go ahead and put him at A, and here's why. So with Chamber getting nerfed, you might see a resurgence of Killjoy back into the meta and see more Killjoy just in general in your rank games. And as a result of this, Breach has his ability in Aftershock to be able to break Killjoy ults without, having like a Sova ult or like a Brimstone ultimate to do it. You'll have it every round, right? So he can play around that really well, and I think that's why I'm going to put him a little bit higher here in the meta, because I think you'll see a lot more Breach. Not only that, but he has really good util in his flashes as well as in his fault line, right? So the thing with fault line is on these maps with like really narrow corridors, like for instance a Bind or a Haven, right? So like when when Breaches play on A-Link, I believe it is, like in between B and A site on defense, and they stun all of A lobby, it like slows down the push, and then you can maybe get some picks off of it, as well as just buying time to further rotates and everything. So there's a lot of setup potential there, and I think it is really hard to play versus a good Breach. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him at the A tier for that reason. So let's go ahead and take a look at another agent here, which is Brimstone. I don't think he is the best smoke to use, and it is debatable. Like for controller players, like they have their preference on who they think is best between Viper, Omen, and Brimstone. I'm not going to mention Astra because I think she got nerfed pretty hard and she's only like really applicable in some maps, but I think like Omen can really set himself up like solo in ranked, whereas Brimstone like has to be in range of like to use the smokes, and obviously Omen has a range too, but his is like a little bit shorter. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him at a B tier here, because I think there are better agents in terms of controller, which it is Omen. And speaking of that, let's go ahead and put Omen at A tier here. I don't think there is like an S tier for controller, and the reason in ranked for that matter, because I think in ranked it's a little bit harder to go ahead and carry with controllers, right? The best role to carry in ranked, and I know this is gonna like upset a lot of people, but it is Duelist, and let me explain why it is Duelist. So when you're playing Duelist, you can entry for your team and you can see if they follow up, right? If they don't follow up, you have the option of playing slow, right? You can be like, oh, my team's not following up. Let's default, play slow, play for picks. Now think about it if the role is reversed for any other role. Let's say you're playing controller, right? You're not really going to entry on Brimstone or Astra or something like that, right? You don't have that option where, as if you're Jet, you can entry for yourself, create space for your team, and then if they're not following up and you notice they're not following up, you can adapt your play style and play a different style where like you can play two paces, a fast pace and a slow pace. But with like controller, if your Duelist isn't entering and you're playing controller, you're not going to run in there and you can, right? And you might have to, but it's not that effective if you're playing versus, really good players. So I'm going to go ahead and put Duelists here now on the list here. So like Jet and Raze I'd probably be like the highest tier list. I think, for instance, Raze has a really like low skill floor to like, play her like really efficiently. And then also like Jet, she's still like S tier despite the nerfs to her dash. She can create space for her team. She's like the only like real true entry where she can have setup from her flashes. She can play in her smoke. She can dash and play in her smoke, get a flash behind her and then peek out of the smoke if they are trying to like shoot her in her own Jet smoke. So there's a lot of like carry potential there in Jet. She's still S tier. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go to Chamber. I'm going to skip a little bit because he is my favorite agent, and I'm going to put him in the high skill cap category, and let me explain why. Chamber is still a good agent in terms of like he gets value from Headhunter, he gets value from his op, but he's really lost his identity as a Sentinel, and as a result of this, if he is the only Sentinel on your team, that's going to be very, very tough to play around. And let me just explain. So if you saw my last video on Killjoy, how to play Killjoy, like the best you can on Icebox, the VOD review I did for the Killjoy in Gold, I'll have the video in the comments if you guys want to check that out. You'll see that if Killjoy puts her turret in kitchen on Icebox, she can watch 3 angles at once, put her alarm bot in the Viper Lurk Orb. She has all of mid covered. There's no holes in the defense. With one Chamber trademark, there's so many holes in the defense that it's not really like a Sentinel role, right? They can walk up. Imagine Icebox, right? You put your trademark in kitchen, your Chamber trap in kitchen, right? They can go under tube, they can go through mid. You won't know, right? You have to use body, so you can't really use that. It's so limited util now that he's lost his identity as a Sentinel. I would put him like high skill cap, but if he was not high skill cap, for instance, like if it wasn't like in a really capable Chamber's hand and like someone who's just like trying to play Sentinel, I'd honestly put him in F tier. I know that sounds very odd because Chamber is like, you know, he gets a lot of value in eco rounds, like he does still have like power, but in terms of like how much he provides for his team, he's basically Reyna, and you know, for that matter. Reyna doesn't really do much for a team. Yeah, she has her blind, but it's not like a powerful blind. It's kind of like a selfish character, and in this case too, like you know, I know I'm not gonna play Chamber now because I don't want to like be a selfish player, and I want to play for my team, especially in the higher ratings. So it's kind of is what it is. But I can talk about Chamber for hours, but I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next agent here, and that is gonna be Cypher. Cypher is also gonna be like on my I'm gonna put it on B tier, and the reason is because I think he's a step below Killjoy, and I don't think he's as bad as everyone, you know, puts him out to be. Like everyone thinks he's F tier, he sucks, but when you're playing in these pro tournaments, for instance, or like these pro matches like I am, right? And I'm like playing versus really good Cyphers, like for instance on a crew, right? Who were like the 5th best team when we played them, although they played Killjoy that time, but like still, like regardless, like when they're playing Cypher, you really notice like the pressure. So a good Cypher like matters a lot, and I think like his setups are quite easy to learn in comparison to others. So I think that he's still like a B tier. I wouldn't put him in an A tier. I wouldn't put him in an S tier. And like, let's go into the next Sentinel and tell you why. So like, the reason I put Killjoy a tier above Cypher is because she's a little bit easier to play, in my opinion, right? You just swing off your util. The setups are like really simple. Since you can just put mollies down, you can put your alarm bot, your turret watches multiple angles, and then you just like either like duck and play off your util, or you bait with it, right? So it's kind of really like simple, in opposed to like Cypher, who's like, yeah, you have to learn the setups and like the one ways and the certain wires and how to play off your cages and stuff like that. But on top of it, it's just also her ultimate. Like for instance, now that you'll see more Killjoy, if the opponent doesn't have a Sova, Brimstone ult, or like a Breach, for instance, like she might get a lot of value from her ultimate, right? So that's why I'm going to put her a step above Cypher. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next agent. Phoenix, I'm going to put an F tier. I just think he sucks in comparison to all the other duelists. I'm going to be honest with you. On Fracture, this is just my personal opinion, but on Fracture, there is a small case where he might have value because his wall gets a lot of value going into B and going into A, right? But not only that, but on Fracture, there are 4 ult orbs, so he can farm that ult and have it almost every round, especially if they're having a good game. But regardless, even on Fracture, I'd still put him on like a B tier. I wouldn't put him on an F tier, but I'd put him on a B tier, and it requires a really high skill cap proficient player to go ahead and play that Phoenix, right? So I'm gonna still put him on F tier for that reason. Reyna, I'm gonna go ahead and put at B tier. I just think she's a good ranked agent, but she doesn't really provide anything for the team. Honestly, like if she wasn't like that good in terms of performance in some like highly mechanical players' hands, like I wouldn't put her even at B. I'd put her at F, but like she just provides nothing. So still, she is like a good ranked hero because she can, you know, devour and heal herself and dismiss. So I'll put her at B for sure. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at Sage. Sage is another agent that I will put at B. I think it's really like map specific. Obviously, like on Split, you can get a lot of value, and on some other maps like Icebox, you can get a lot of value on her as well. But I think it's just too niche with the map, so I'm gonna put her at B tier because I don't think she provides enough to go ahead and, you know, be at a higher tier. But I think, you know, there are players like Grim, for instance, who, you know, provide a lot of value on her and with crazy walls and stuff like that. So there are like high skill cap ways to play with her to provide extra value, but I'm just gonna assume for the general public, I'm gonna put her at B. So the next agent is Skye, and this is gonna shock a lot of people, but I think Skye is kind of at an S tier right now, and the reason why is because she's kind of like a duelist, but she also provides so much for the team. She provides heals, she provides info with her dog, and her flashes. You know, only flash that goes, hey, they're flashed, you know, they're blinded, right? So like it tells you if you blind someone, and where you blind, you'll know where they are off of it, right? So she provides so much info, she heals, her ultimate's really good for hard hitting sites, which is, you know, kind of what ranked is. Like not a lot of people like to play slow in rank. They just kind of like try and like ram it in. And I think just her general kit and her playstyle is so good on defense and attack, and I think she's kind of under the radar here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her S tier. I really think if someone does want to like climb in ranked, Master Sky, I think you will really climb in ranked as a result of this. Okay, Sova, I'm still gonna go ahead and put him at S tier as well. A lot of these initiators I do put at like the higher tiers because info is so important in this game, right? If you think about it, when you get info and you see like a drone and you have someone walking behind it, you get so much map control, especially since so many players in rank just 5-man, that if they're ever stopped and they decide to rotate, you're gonna get the info early because someone's gonna take space with the drone, and then you're gonna get like free kills as a result of this if they have like their knives out, which most of the time they are, because they always think everyone rotates, no one clears anything, even at like higher ratings. So I really think that Sova, Sky, and like maybe even KO are like really up there for agents that you should master if you want to climb in ranked. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the third initiator here. I'm gonna put him at A because I think he is S tier in the highest levels of play, but I'm gonna put him at A because I think there is a big like learning curve to go ahead and learn KO. People just kind of throw out his knife randomly, but you know, he has a lot of counterplay with his knife being able to shut down Raze ult. Like, it takes away the Raze ult, takes away the jet knives. There's a lot of things you can do with KO. You can slow down pushes with Molly. Obviously, his right click flash is really hard to dodge. If you master left click flashes, you can stand in a specific spot and have it like flash instantly, so they can't even turn it and react to it. So KO is definitely up there as like a really good initiator. I'm going to go ahead and now go into Yoru. This one's going to be very debatable because there are a lot of one-trick Yoru players that have done so well with climbing with Yoru, and they make this agent look unstoppable. I'm talking about people like Who Framed Me. You know, he's somebody that I've watched that has made that agent look unstoppable. But at the same time, I've seen some other Yorus, you know, and I'm sure you guys have seen some other Yorus who put the TP right in front of them, and then they're like, they throw a flash, TP flash themselves, and then the person just turns around and goes like, what is he doing? Just one tap him, right? Like, there's those Yorus as well, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and put it at high skill cap because I kind of encounter those Yorus more, the ones who flash themselves, take TP every single time and die. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put it at a high skill cap for that reason. Astra, very map specific. You can get away with her in the highest levels of play, but in terms of like the general public and like, let's say, diamond or below, the reason I put her at F tier is because there's so many more controllers that can do more, I feel like Omen, Viper, Brimstone, where she kind of gets outshined since the nerf. Like, she's very limited now. She can't really waste stars. She has to be more like strategical with them. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her at F tier for that reason. And I know it's pretty harsh. A lot of Astra players out there probably gonna get really mad about that. But yeah, Viper I'm gonna put at B tier, and the reason why is because she's very map specific. I feel like you can't just throw her on Ascent or something like that. And you know, have no idea like what you're doing. This player, like, normally like you're gonna have to have really set strategies, and even then it's like really hard to play. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her at B because, you know, there's a lot of like a learning curve for Viper as well. But then again, she's map specific, so it's not really utilized everywhere. Whereas like Omen, you can play on multiple maps, or Brimstone, you can play on like more maps than Viper even. So for that reason, I'm gonna go ahead and put her at B tier. Neon, I'm gonna put at A tier. The reason being is because I think she's gonna come out more since the Jet nerf, but even though Jet got nerfed, I still think she's like one of the best agents. But Neon is super underrated. I said this before Optic used it to win Iceland as well, that Neon is one of the most underrated agents in the game. So if you do want to climb with Duelists, I think this is a really good agent to use, especially because, you know, on eco rounds, especially with your ultimate, you can have some kind of impact and turn those eco rounds. Eco rounds, if you can turn those around in ranked, you can snowball those into easy wins. So I definitely think that Neon does have like a lot of value, especially since she has crowd control in her concusses as well. If you like are very coordinated with a duo, or if you're like just, you know, having good synergy with someone on your team, you can combine concusses with like a breach or like a raise grenade or something like that, and like really set plays with each other. So I think there's a lot of outplay potential and carry potential with Neon, and that's why I put her at A tier. Last but not least, Fade, the newest agent in the game. Believe it or not, I'm going to put it at S tier, and this might be jumping the gun a little bit, but let me explain why this is something that's, I think, will go under the radar for a while. her dogs auto latch onto people when marked, and on top of that, they have unbelievably high HP. At least it feels like it when you play against her and when you're playing as her as well, where you can basically swing off of your own dog. She kind of has like a duelist initiator feeling, which is kind of weird because Chamber had that same feeling and he was a new agent as well. But I feel like more of like Riot's agents that they're releasing are kind of feeling like duelists. It's just me, I don't know, but I'm sure you guys feel that too. But anyway, she has like a decay. She has a good combo potential with Raze as well. Like her grounding ability with a Raze grenade is very powerful because it has a decay as well, so it like insta kills basically. Like there's a lot of potential there, and I think like a good Fade, it will be insanely hard to play against. And I have played versus good Fades. You can also watch like Sinatra, I think, like, you know, he's had a lot of highlight clips on Fade, and you can see that, you know, he really understands the agent. So I think there are going to be a lot of scary Fades that come out in the future. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put her at S tier for that reason. Also, her ult, a lot of outplay potential since, you know, audio is a big part of the game, and then you can, you know, rap, you can make crazy plays with her. I think it's definitely going to take a while for people to learn to play against her, and as a result of that, there's going to be a long period of time where Fade, I think, will be a very strong agent in Valorant. But that is my tier list on the agents that I think are best to climb with. If you guys did have any questions, please let me know in the comments. We're almost at 500 subs on YouTube, and it would mean a lot to me if you guys can go ahead and help me hit that goal. 90% of the people who watch this video are not subscribed to me, so please, if you don't mind, leave a subscribe on the channel, leave a like, a comment for the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next video.